yes, if you're wondering, this is my bed. This is the bedroom. I just felt like, I don't know, I needed to be in a different spot. I needed to try something different, new, and what better place to talk about, you know, like weird feelings than like getting comfortable in like your bed space and just being like, yeah, let's talk about stuff. So today's Let's Talk episode is about disowning parts of yourself. And I've come to the conclusion at the moment that by taking time to share like what's coming up with me and how I'm facing it and understanding it and learning about it and dealing with it, you know, that it provides a lot of opportunity and insight for you guys as well. So whether other people do this and they just don't say it or whatever, I don't know, but I know where I'm at and how I'm facing and understanding things, what I've learned about it, how I practice, how I implement, and I think that that serves you guys really well too. So go ahead and get some tea or some coffee and just, you know, like hang out for a second and we'll talk about it. So a big thing that has been coming up for me lately is dealing with feelings of anger and frustration. And there's a whole bunch of like pinpoints and layers to it. But at the end of the day, I noticed that the more I started to see myself and how I was reacting and applying it to like all these past things that I know about, like, oh, well, this is what happened within my family. This is how I grew up. This is the situation that I was dealt with. This is the energy around my upbringing and all that stuff. That gives you one layer of understanding. Then it becomes another layer of understanding when other people are in the mix. If, for example, and like what I was dealing with when like old relationships pop up, old people pop up, and there's something unsettled there, there's something that wasn't completely dealt with or handled, and it comes up. And for me personally, there was a lot of feelings of anger and frustration towards these individuals. And the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, I don't know how to express my anger. I guess that's it. And I'll backtrack and say that maybe about a month ago, I came to this place of truly feeling that because I grew up in a space where I felt a lot of anger, and not necessarily always towards me, but you know, how my parents dealt with stuff, they would get angry, they would get frustrated, and they would react a lot, which I think everybody does, so I'm not saying anything negative about my parents, it's just the reality. And understanding like, wow, there was like a lot of anger and tension around me. I felt like I came to a place where I understood, oh, well, I'm holding on to anger from my home or from my family or whatever. That's not mine. Okay. Okay. So I came to that place of understanding for the moment and, you know, moved on and was like feeling good and light and whatever. And, you know, the past couple of days I've just been coming back to this understanding of seeing and feeling like, well, you know what? I am angry. And I feel like there was something wrong done to me and that I never got to express that to the person who I felt had wronged me. And there's so many more layers to that too, but reflecting on that, I took a moment to literally reflect on it and think, okay, well, there's like a self-righteous aspect here. There's an aspect of myself that just wants to like feel good all the time and be the good person and the understanding person and, you know, blah, 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 all this stuff. And the reality is that deep down there's aspects of myself that I have truly pushed away and disowned because I didn't like the anger that I was surrounded by. So I said, well, I'm not going to be angry. Like, I'll be nice and I'll be kind-hearted and sweet and loving. And the reality is that, like, no, there's parts of me that are angry that I have suppressed and pushed away and never really allowed space and dealt with. So to come into this understanding and knowingness that like, all right, so if you're the type of person that's like, but I'm so giving and I'm so positive and all that stuff, look at the other aspects of yourself that you're saying no to. Look at the parts of yourself that you're pushing down, because the reality is we are like living and growing and like surviving and thriving in a culture that teaches you that it's bad to get angry. Like, don't yell at that person, don't hit that person, like blah, 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 blah. And, you know, again, there's layers to that, but I'm not going to go into it. The reality is that we're constantly taught to repress something, right? So think of the parts of yourself that you have pushed away and disowned. Think of the parts of yourself that you say, well, I'm not that. Have you actually sat with it and questioned it and seen if it does play a part in your life? Because the more we run away from it and hide from it, the worse it gets. It just starts to feed more and more, and the more you suppress it, the bigger it gets. And that's when it becomes like this explosive outburst or this like demonic energy, because it just kind of like bursts out because we never just paid attention to it. It just was left alone to fester. It's like mold. It's like leaving something in the fridge and seeing a little bit of mold growing on it and be like, I'll get to it. And then one day you open the fridge and it reeks like something died, and it's because this entire container is filled with mold. Hopefully, you know, not everyone's experienced that. Unfortunately, I used to live with someone who did things like that. But you know what? It happens. We get the visual and we move on. And it's so important to understand and realize that these things grow and get bigger to get our attention. They're not growing and getting bigger to like scare you or to ruin you or anything. It wants your attention. These things want your attention. So if you give your attention to those things and just face them and understand them and see them, most of the time their power's gone, or they kind of go away, or they start to dissipate and turn into something else. So the more we can allow ourselves to face this stuff instead of pushing it away and being all like love and light and happy all the time, more healing can occur. Because if you don't give attention to that stuff, like it's just gonna keep getting bigger until it does blow up and you do like beat the shit out of someone, or you break something, or you do something that like you would potentially regret, or harm yourself or harm another person. So, you know, I was speaking with someone recently and she said, she was like, I was so angry, I just wanted to break everything around me, and I haven't felt that way in a long time. And, you know, at the moment, I had just like been talking with Taylor about like scream therapy and how I've like experienced that and learned about it and all that stuff, and had just shared that with her and said, have you ever tried like getting in your car and like driving far away somewhere and just screaming until you can't scream anymore? Just letting it out? She was like, oh, I didn't know I needed permission. Like I needed permission to do that and to be okay with that. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. Sometimes you can just face whatever it is that you're feeling and seeing and experiencing and figure out how to let it go. There's a fantastic book by David R. Hawkins called Letting Go, and it walks you through the process of how to do it in all these different stages and places. It's really beautiful, but it takes practice and it takes time. So, you know, knowing that sometimes there's a time to really deal with your shit, and sometimes it's like you might just have to let it go. But either way, no matter what, you have to face it. You have to put yourself in front of it. You have to let it become a reality. You have to look at it. And that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage, but it's always worth it at the end of the day. So, you know, take a moment throughout the week or maybe throughout the day and notice if there's an aspect of yourself that you really push away or disown, and say like, well, that's not me. And if you say, well, that's not me, maybe take a moment and see how it actually could potentially be you. And either way, you're either learning like, oh wait, I'm suppressing that, or B, you're like, yep, nope, that's not me. Either way, you win, no matter what. Even if it's like scary and you don't want to admit something, it's an opportunity for you to expand and grow consciously and as a human, like as a human being. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope you can relate to it. You know, If this is something that you felt like you needed to hear, if it was kind of a relief, please give the video like a thumbs up, like it. And if you're looking forward to more talks like this, please subscribe to the channel. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers in the next couple of months. I will hone in on that and make it a very specific manifestation, but I would love to be able to just continue to bring more reality and like useful, good content to you guys, things that you feel like you resonate with and things that are genuinely helpful. So, you know, I want to bring up something that's kind of tough, and I want to walk through some ways that you could potentially deal with it, see it, and come out the other side different and you know, in a growth space, in a growth mindset. But I really appreciate you guys. I really love that you're here, and I'm really looking forward to making the next video. So enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. And I didn't even drink any of the coffee. I just kind of sat here and held it. Isn't it weird how comforting mugs are? I think that's why I have an obsession with them. I just love, I love mugs. I really do. And they just make me feel, I don't know, they just feel good. They make me feel like I'm at home. So maybe cuddle up with a mug today if you're a weirdo like me.